how do I get people's attention without being like, hey, it's a weight loss book, or because so many things I would read really weird. Well, I thought it was interesting stuff about fungus, but like science books, because we would have this section in the health food store, and we also had a very local Dr. Shamim. He passed away a few years ago. He was a very cutting edge, natural homeopathic doctor who didn't want to do surgery, wanted to treat cancer holistically. Actually had his medical license snatched from him. And this is all like 70s. You know, and then kind of, I guess I'm jumping around, but then seeing how so many people now, it's so easy for them to just get on a platform and be like, oh, do this. And it's like, there were real pioneers within this world. He was like one of them. So seeing people come into the health food store that, I know you have cancer, and then see it go in remission. Just because of sugar, cleaning up their diet, taking certain supplementation. Also then seeing people and they did make it. So having this kind of like peek into this real world of health food and health. So now from the low carb store, it's like as the industry fell out from underneath itself, it's like I know this is right. Like I know even to this day, like I know watching your sugar, your processed carbs, like that's how you should really live. And like, how do I now put something out here? Because the books were really boring. And I was like, well, I could write a book. I'll write a book.
I could write something more interesting than this.
And that was I don't know what made me look at, it was just, sugar. And it was like, well, where did it come from? And this just led me down this personal rabbit hole of like, well, where did it come from? And then the more I kind of like peeled the onion back, or like just this, to me, it was really interesting. Like 530 BC, it's first recorded in Polynesia, and then Polynesians invaded. That conqueror takes it back to like Persia. Years later, they're invaded, and sugar actually travels through war. And there could be like hundreds of years in between this, and then what really affects us, it's like then it's in the Middle East, and you have the Crusades. And the Crusades really weren't about Christianity or Islam. There was that aspect, but it was really about spice, because in Europe you didn't have the Sub-Z freezer. Like you didn't, if you slaughtered the animal, you had
to do it right now.
You had to preserve it somehow, and that really is what fueled like, I need more spice, I need more sugar from the king. And then the Americas were discovered. So seeing like, and then trying to put this together in a way of like, oh, well, you know what? This is pretty, for me, I'm like, this is pretty interesting. I never heard of anything like this.
I'd never.
Which then it's like, what's enslaving the black and brown community today? Diabetes, type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes. 1 out of 3, Americans are pre-diabetic. So that's the trying to figure a way out to get people's attention, not to be like, hey, you should cut this out. Because you're going to resist that. There's going to be a pushback of that. Like, whatever. Because you can talk sex, politics. But if I'm like, I don't think you should eat that. Especially to a stranger, man, you might be fighting.
Pretty much.
Like, yeah.